winds right there, passing St. Albans, moving into Jefferson right now, where you see this bright white color and bright blue color. We're getting 68, 70 mile an hour velocities right there on that color. And again, potential at least for some rotation. So National Weather Service saw enough evidence that they've put out this tornado warning covering central Kanawha County. Now, Sissonville's not in the tornado warning, but you are in the severe thunderstorm warning. But downtown Charleston is in this tornado warning on the south side of this cell here for the possibility of tornadic spin-up, potentially, as this makes its way off to the east at around 60 miles an hour. So again, this is going to be moving across eastern, central and eastern Kanawha County here very, very quickly. So you want to get away from windows anywhere in this warning box. That includes South Charleston, Dunbar, Jefferson, a lot of the metro area here. And you want to get into your basement, lowest level of your home, and ride this out. It will be moving through quickly. But again, radar indicated tornado. Are we getting anything out of the chat here? I'd like to see.
At the moment, there has not been any continued issue or any particular update, but some of the local spotters are reporting that they're seeing rotation of this storm coming into Kanawha County right now. And that's people on the ground observing what's up in the sky. Okay. So this is still a radar indicated tornado potential. We do not have a confirmation of a tornado on the ground with this storm at this point in time. But looking at this storm tracker here, could be right here in Charleston by about 5:38, closer to the airport by 5:40, and it's pushing its way eastward 65 miles an hour. So this is moving very fast.
Oh, we just got another message. What do we get here?
Another tornado warning now in effect for Kanawha, Clay, Fayette, and Putnam counties, and this is also a radar indicated tornado potential.
Or is that just an update on the...
That must be an update of some sort, because I don't see another one.
It looks like that. Yeah, I think that's just the same one. We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, our phones, I believe, just went off again.
Yeah, they did activate again, which is suspicious, definitely.
So again, this is a serious situation. You want to be inside, lowest level of your home. Again, basement if possible. Interior room away from windows, and you want to ride this thing out. So we do have a tornado warning. So again, that means that tornado is indicated by radar, has not been spotted as of right now, but you want to take action right now if you're in central Kanawha County and eastern Kanawha County. So again, that's what we are looking at right here as this cell makes its way right across the I-64 corridor. And again, it's being right in that notch right there where the possibility of a tornado would be. So that's a tornado warning, and this is tracking to the east. And again, I'm going to put another velocity scan on this to see if we're seeing, it's in a tough spot here because it's getting right up to where the radar is. So there's the radar in Southridge. So as it kind of gets closer, this signature here, this wind signature, it's a little bit hard to see without a little bit of interference going on here. But that's what we're seeing right now is this strong signature. And I'm going to take a look at the hail signature as well. And I was noticing, got the tornado track here. We can kind of put this on, and this was a little while ago. But this is indicating, this will put out a little number here.
Getting a text message from a friend here who mentions in the Nitro area, he observed 100% rotating winds, but no tornado. So he was observing some rotation high up into the sky, and which does agree with what we're seeing here on radar today with that hooking behavior of the storm. And it began to rotate a little bit when it was back in Putnam County, and that's why the National Weather Service has issued this. It's most likely, if there was a tornado chance, it would probably be just east of Dunbar now, closing in on the west side of Charleston.
Yeah, so right in there, right approaching South Charleston, Dunbar area, right in that.
I would say right there,
kind
South
of that
Charleston.
notch area. Yeah, right in there is where we'd be seeing it. We're getting another scan, but right in there. Now that the National Weather Service office is located right in South Charleston. So that's very close to where they're located here right now. And again, the north flank of this system, is moving through northern Kanawha County with some very large hail. And they're warning of up to baseball-size hail. We've got Taze Valley. We've seen some reports, very large hail from this cell back to the west. Yeah, a lot of hail reports coming in here from all across the area here. And anything in the chat from the National Weather Service, folks?
Seeing rotation on the storm coming into Kanawha County, and that was 5 minutes ago. So it is indeed showing twisting winds, at least at a higher level. But these radar indicated tornadoes, you know, sometimes the radar misses it and they can come down to the ground very quickly. So not only the tornado chance, but also the opportunity for baseball-sized hail or greater in the areas north of the storm. So we're really keeping a close watch on it. The Charleston camera shaking back and forth now as this rush of wind is coming through.
Yeah, and you can almost see, look at the Kanawha River. You can see whitecaps out there because of the wind, looks like. So,
Sirens have been activated as well here in Kanawha County
Okay.
when the tornado warning was issued. So we're definitely hearing it outside our building.
So again, that's tornado warning for central Kanawha County. It includes the Charleston metro area. Also includes folks off to the east. So Pinch, Elkview, Coal Ridge, Candalia, Clendenin, you're on the northern edge of that tornado warning. So you all want to take action as well. Anybody within this warning box. Coal Fork, this goes all the way down, goes down to Martin in northwestern Fayette County. So that's the extent of it. And then all the way into far western Clay County. So Queen Shoals, Glen also included in that tornado warning until at least 6 o'clock. And on the eastern side, we'll have to see if it gets extended here as this cell is crossing right through downtown Charleston here right now. So again, this is what we're following here. Tornado warning for central Kanawha County. And then we've got more cells up to here, but these are severe thunderstorm warnings moving into Gallipolis, Point Pleasant, Pomeroy. Large hail and strong winds would be the primary threat from that. So right now we're kind of focused in on this particular cell. This was the one that had a history of producing very large hail. We got some videos coming in here.
This is out of the Milton area in Cabell County, and he was looking east. This particular viewer is showing what looks like a wall cloud out into the distance. And that particular storm is now right here in Kanawha County, and it's moving into Charleston very fast.
Okay, so even back when it was near Milton, it looked like it was possibly trying to spin up a wall cloud. That's doesn't necessarily mean a tornado is there, but that can be the first signs of a tornado trying to form. So again, this storm is moving into downtown Charleston. You want to be in your safe spot along I-64, South Charleston, Dunbar, Institute, Charleston. Looks like it's past Institute, so folks back to the west, I think Cross Lanes, St. Albans, and they just updated the warning. So they just took those areas out of the warning, but it kept it going. So what have we got here? This just came in. 541, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Charleston, moving east at 65 miles an hour. Baseball-sized hail potentially, radar indicated rotation. It's near Charleston, Coal Fork, Pinch, and Elkview. And other locations that could be included in this include Pond Gap. So you want to take action right now if you haven't already. Radar indicated tornado. We don't have confirmation of a tornado on the ground, but radar indicated tornado. Of course, this was a familiar thing that although a much different kind of setup than what we saw back on April 2nd last year, where it was, multiple tornadoes forming along, lines of storms. This has been what's called a supercell thunderstorm, individual cell that formed this afternoon and has been tracking, basically it formed back around Cincinnati. About 2:30 this afternoon it took shape, and it's been maintaining itself. Normally thunderstorms around here have a shelf life. They'll last for maybe about 30 minutes, an hour, and then they'll fall apart, and then another one will form. But this one, because of the enormous amount of wind energy available to it, this has sustained itself. And this was what we were seeing over the weekend, the potential that these storms that got going were going to be able to sustain themselves for long periods of time and potentially track all the way from Ohio across the entire state of West Virginia. So there's no signs that this is necessarily going to weaken at all. as it makes its way eventually into Clay County, Nicholas, Braxton, Webster counties. And then again, of course, we've got more activity that we're following here back to the west. So it's not just this one storm. There's others here too. And we'll have to see if those gain any rotation. But for right now, are there any tornado tags on the other cells?
At
Tornado
this point
possible,
in time,
like,
there's another severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for the second storm in parts of Meigs, Wood, Roane, Mason, Gallia, Wirt, and Calhoun counties. And that storm, the hazards are 60-mile-an-hour winds and hail up to quarter size or greater. So
Okay.
at this point in time, I only see the tornado warning here in Charleston, and all other warnings are severe thunderstorm warnings with the hail potential and the wind potential being the highest. And this is dangerous wind here you're seeing on the Charleston camera. You want to get indoors, and preferably a basement is your safest place to be. It's recommended that you get down in the basement because you put as many walls between yourself and the outside, but you also want to stay away from windows because these types of gusts, paired with the large baseball-sized hail, can blow windows out as storms push their way in. And we're starting to see some hail falling outside of our studio here in
yeah, we have
Charleston
confirmation.
now.
We could hear it on our roof. And there's a live look at Charleston. There's the camera right now. It's shaking. You know, and a lot of folks out on the road, unfortunately. But, you know, hopefully this is just a radar-indicated tornado. And, you know, not anything on the ground, but we have to treat it as though it could be on the ground. Okay? So this is what we're following here right now, again, as this storm is making its way into downtown Charleston. Now we can hear the rain picking up here on the rooftop. So again, we have that tornado warning for Charleston, eastern half of Kanawha County. Again, western spots taken out of that. Any update in the chat? Because this probably
No
just
update yet at this time.
yeah, this went by the National Weather Service office. So I'm wondering if they had any. I remember back in 2019 when their office was located in Southridge, where the radar is. They actually said in the chat, we can confirm a tornado just went by here. So I'm kind of curious to see if they can provide any confirmation in terms of what they just saw passing South Charleston. But again, that's the cell right there. I'm going to look at the velocity again, but it's a little bit messy just because of how close it is to the actual radar site. So again, there's the radar site in Charleston. Let me switch over. It's going to be a little far away. I'm going to switch over to Roanoke's radar just to see if that maybe presents a little different view.
And I have Jackson, Kentucky's radar up, and it appears more broad, like higher and mid-levels of the sky, and not really down to the ground from what I can see. But that can differ, especially when you're far away from a radar site.
Yeah, it's always a little tricky when you have these kinds of rotating signatures showing up and they get close to a radar site. So that can make things kind of tricky as they approach, you know, especially in the downtown Charleston area because the radar is located right here. So, you know, it's hard to see any kind of couplet per se, what we call a velocity couplet, where you're seeing green and red touching each other in a strong way. And we've seen that already today in some of these cells, but they were kind of transient. They didn't tend to last too long. But let me take a look at the, there's the large hail. So the large hail signature seems to be especially, it didn't sound like real large hail on our rooftop.
No.
I think it would have sounded a lot more dramatic.
It sounded like
I think
it
the
was
larger hail is probably up north, Mink Shoals, Elkview, Guthrie. That's where we're getting that larger hail signature here right now. Where you see that purple zone right there. So that's going just north of downtown. But typically the north flank is where you're going to get the large hail. The tornadic activity would be on the south side of the cell. And so that's what's passing near Charleston here right now. So it looks like that's actually gone by, just in the latest scan, that looks like that may have gone by the city already.
I would agree.
But I
at
would
this
stay
point.
in your safe spot for sure until we get dropped out of this warning. But moving again very, very quickly here. as that passes through. And now that's, that's kind of crossing the 77-64 kind of interchange, kind of moving its way to the east there. So that potential signature is near Kanawha City and Coal Fork currently. So you kind of look for these notches. It's a little bit of a kind of a notch signature right in there. It's not real prominent, but it's there. That's the potential where there could be some kind of a spin up currently. So right there, right in the Kanawha City zone, potentially. So again, the tornado warning remains in effect with this cell through Kanawha County. And we've still seen a very large hail signature. There
has been a severe thunderstorm warning update issued, and it's a continuation of the severe thunderstorm warning for the northern storm, but not for this storm here. That storm has a tornado warning in effect until 6:30 or 6 o'clock.
Okay, so yeah, they extended this one into northern Jackson.
Yes, and that's through 6:30 there.
Yes,
right.
Okay, 6:30 for this particular severe thunderstorm warning right there, 6:45.
Yes.
And then we've got this one that's crossing through Gallipolis and Point Pleasant. And then another one looks like it's moving back into Portsmouth again. So these are some strong signatures. We'll take a look at some of what we're seeing there. And there's something that we would keep an eye on, a little couplet right there where you're seeing the green and the red kind of mixed together right there, just north of Vanceburg. That might be something to keep an eye on here. That's crossing into southwestern Scioto County. But again, we have that tornado warning, radar indicated, and just because of the proximity of the radar, it's a little harder to see any kind of rotating signature with that per se. But it was also hard in 2019 where we had that tornado coming up from the southwest. It was kind of hard given the proximity of the radar until it started to actually cross the river and started moving north of Charleston, and then you could kind of pick it up once again. So tornado warning still in effect. This is still in effect until 6, right? Okay.
6.
And we can take a look. I don't know if this is a product called correlation coefficient. You can sometimes see maybe a little signature in there. Sometimes you could pick up debris if there is an actual tornado, but I'm not sure how prominently that's going to show up. I'm not really seeing.
That's the shape that you look for in a thunderstorm that could produce a tornado, that little hooking shape. And what we see there lines up with the reports we've received of the potential rotating cloud cover high in the sky when the storm was back in parts of Cabell and Putnam counties. But as it made its way in towards Charleston, we lost that good visual of it, and it can become very dangerous, especially in situations like that. So it's a good decision to issue and have that tornado warning in effect to let you know you need to get to your safe spot.
Now it looks a lot calmer in Charleston now. We're not seeing the white caps on the river anymore. It doesn't seem like the camera's shaking as much anymore either. And what's interesting, even though these have been prolific hail producers, and that we do have confirmed, there's a lot of hail with these storms, not a ton of lightning. I mean, there's some, but that's not a huge amount of lightning for cells like we would sometimes see. But definitely, there is some lightning and thunder with this storm as it's making its way to the east, and we still have that. It does look like this is past Charleston.
Brand new severe thunderstorm warning now in effect with a storm that's making its way out of Ohio. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for Gallia, Lawrence County in Ohio, Mason County, Putnam, north central Kanawha, Roane, and southern Jackson counties through 6:45. And that storm has a potential of 60-mile-an-hour straight line gusts or greater.
Yeah, and that's this one right here.
In addition to ping pong ball size hail, with this storm making its way past Point Pleasant now and towards Arbuckle.
Yeah, so all of this, we've got all of this kind of rolling its way through here right now. So there was that lead cell, which kind of turned to the right which is what sometimes strong supercell thunderstorms do. This one right here was turning to the right. What do we have here?
Continuation.
Until 6 o'clock. Okay. Severe thunderstorm. So they took Charleston. So downtown Charleston's out of the warning now, although it's in a severe thunderstorm warning. But that still remains in effect for Pinch, Clendenin, Coleridge, Candalia, all along this Quick Road, Dutch Ridge Road area, Cocoa, under that tornado warning, Pond Gap, and that's until 6 o'clock. Again,
Also a report of that looks to be at least
ping pong
ball size
yeah.
hail in
so we have
Putnam
ping
County.
pong size hail in Taze Valley that was reported when the storm went through there. Yeah, and that just showed up there on our. So that's 1.8 inch diameter hail. It's about ping pong size hail that was reported in Taze Valley when that storm was moving through. And there's the velocity scan right there with that storm as it pushed right across Charleston. So now it's moving away from the radar. We should be able to get a little better look at it here on the velocity, I would think. And there does look like there's some rotation down there. It's kind of right between Candalia and Pond Gap. Does that match up with? Yeah, it's kind of on the south end right there. So there's a little bit of a notch maybe near Blount. A little bit kind of showing up there.
And that's the thing with the wind energy that's available today. You get these little quick spin ups, and sometimes they're very quick. And the tornado potential, you could have a tornado touch down, but sometimes the radar will miss it. And that's when you have these radar indicated warnings, because the potential is there for something to spin up very fast as it makes its way now into eastern Kanawha County. And that hook at the bottom of the storm, that's what we've been seeing with this as it made its way through. So definitely Blount, Candalia, very rural area down through here. Definitely want to head to the basement. That's your best spot, perhaps in the lowest floor away from windows, as we still have this radar indicated tornado warning here, eastern Kanawha County through 6 o'clock. Also, some additional severe thunderstorm warnings are now coming in on the storms that are making their way into southeastern Ohio. And here in West Virginia, the strongest in parts of Mason County, and that one is going to push into the Arbuckle area. And the chance is there as well for 60-mile-an-hour winds, large hail, and even a potential tornado. We have an update now on our situation in Kanawha County.
Okay, so they did expire the tornado warning.
The tornado warning for northeastern Kanawha, southwestern Clay counties will be allowed to expire at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
However, large hail and damaging winds remain likely, and there will still be a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for this area. And we're likely going to be seeing some more warnings as we head through tonight, with the potential for strong to severe storms, large hail, and even a tornado still as we head over the next few hours with these storms coming out of Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, certainly have more of these lined up here back to the west. Certainly this stuff here moving through into Scioto County. That's got a little bit of a couplet right there near Kenvale and Garrison, right along the Ohio River. It's weak. It's not very strong, but it's something to keep an eye on. I wonder, do they have a tornado possible tag on that? Yes, they do. Okay. So we'll monitor that. And again, that tornado warning for eastern Kanawha County is going to expire. Oh, I hear something.
Some alarms are going off here.
Something's going off.
Sirens also were reactivated as well, but I'm not seeing any new alert in the chat.
Yeah, I don't see. Not sure what might have triggered that, unless it was the expiration. Possibly it could have been the expiration. But, well, we're going to continue, more storms lined up, all across the Ohio River. And some of these are also showing some signs of rotation. So this storm, again, is pushed through Charleston, moving, and even if it's not producing a tornado, the threat for tornado is diminished. Still very large hail signatures. Potential for strong winds. There's that's a very strong hail signature right there over Coleridge, Candalia. That can easily be ping pong size hail or larger. And that's moving across eastern Kanawha County. That's going to move into Clay County as well. So you still want to be inside and away from windows here with the threat for these large hail-producing thunderstorms. And there's, the other signature that's up crossing Route 35 near Arbuckle right now in Mason County. And then there's this one over southwestern Scioto County.
Considerable damage tag for the severe thunderstorm that's making its way right what you see on screen here with the hail potential up to $half size and 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts with that storm right there.
Okay, so that's the one in Scioto County?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
And that's moving across Greenup County as well. So this whole complex right here, that's crossing Route 23, moving east. And then we've got the one up in Mason County, Jackson County as well, crossing 77. And again, that one moving in across eastern Kanawha County. So, Charleston to Huntington, at least for now, getting a little bit of a break. But don't let your guard down, because I do think there's going to be some more of this activity. This stuff all up here is going to start to bodily kind of shift southward with time. And later this evening, I think it'll be down, this area down in here, that we'll start seeing more of the weather as we get into the evening. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of hail pictures coming in. A lot of hail pictures coming in, very large hail pictures coming in from all across the area.
That one was in Tays Valley around 5:30 for James Woods. And we're getting more storm reports as well. Potentially ping pong ball size hail reported in Hurricane when the storm is pushed through Putnam County. And this is likely causing a lot of damage from these storms as they push eastward.
Yeah, this kind of hail is definitely going to cause damage to vehicles. These kind of hailstones. So again, now we've got a severe thunderstorm warning on that cell that had prompted the tornado warning. That now includes Clay and Summersville.
Considerable damage threat for portions of northeastern Kanawha, Nicholas, southwestern Webster, Clay, and northern Fayette counties. And that's in effect through 7 o'clock. Golf ball size hail and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts with that storm now in eastern Kanawha County.
And then this one moving through Portsmouth. This is about the third time Portsmouth's been hit today. This is moving off to the east at about 60 miles an hour as well. So there's going to be a train of storms. They're going to see more and more development back here pretty much through midnight with this stuff. And again, they'll start to shift a little further to the south. But yeah, very large hail, getting more and more reports of baseball-size hail coming out of Jackson County right now, Mason County as well. So this is a absolutely prolific hail-producing setup here today, with the temperatures in the 80s at the surface and then much colder weather, colder temperatures aloft. We're just getting massive hail signatures out of this. And even on Friday, with the same atmosphere, basically we were getting a lot of hail. Those smaller size hail, but people were, reporting 2-3 inches of hail accumulation out of some of those cells then. So this is the time of year where you're going to typically see these kind of, prolific hail-producing setups like this. And that's what we're seeing here with a lot of these storms. So again, numerous thunderstorm warnings going on right now with big hail. That's kind of the big takeaway from a lot of this right now. I've not seen a lot of reports. At least I'm not seeing a lot of reports of wind per se, wind damage.
Mostly large hail and at times the reports of rotation. However, at this point in time, we don't have any tornado warnings to report on, but I will say that some of the storms that we're watching are still rotating. For example, the one that's back just south of Portsmouth, Ohio, now in northern Greenup County, I am seeing a little bit of wind energy there, which would lead me to believe that storm is capable of producing a tornado somewhere down the road as it pushes closer to the Ohio River and even through parts of southern Scioto, Lawrence, Gallia, and then right back into the same flow of Cabell, Mason, Putnam counties in the next hour. So these areas are still going to be seeing severe thunderstorms with all hazards tonight.
Yeah. We got 1,600 customers in Cabell without power currently, about 400 in Putnam and 500 in Kanawha. We'll see if those numbers go up, but that's kind of what we're looking at here right now. But yeah, multiple thunderstorms. We're going to stay on this just because of the hail threat. I think this is major hail, the number of reports we're getting with hail. You know, pretty much anybody along and north of I-64, you want to be home and just away from windows. You don't necessarily need to treat this at this current time as a tornado threat, but at least, you know, hail is just as damaging when it gets this large. You know, small hail, pea-sized hail, it's just kind of a nuisance, but, you know, this is, when you start getting over quarter size, you know, that can be dangerous, especially right in the middle of the evening commute. People are driving, and you know, people are on the interstate, and you're getting these very large hailstones coming down. That's a major problem.
And in some cases, you've seen a lot of hail in a location right underneath the severe thunderstorm, but you can still receive it even in a smaller fashion if you're on the edges of the storm. And even if you're maybe 2 or 3 miles south of a hail corridor, that's where you have to worry about the potential of a possible tornado with these. Usually the tornado chance, not where the hail chance is with the strongest of storms that form in this environment. Yeah,
so we've got, you know, there's the one that came out of Charleston that prompted tornado warning. That's a large hail signature right there. Crosby and Bentry currently. And then this one crossing Route 35, Arbuckle and Buffalo. And then we've got this one that's near Portsmouth, moving across Greenup County. So those are large hail signatures as well. So those are kind of 3 of the signatures right there. And we've got multiple severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing. No tornado warnings at the current time. But all 3 of these complexes are capable of producing very large hail and damaging wind gusts. Any updates from the National Weather Service?
At this point in time, I have not seen any updates. We still have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, and I am concerned about the storm that is right now in Greenup County, Kentucky. It's not super strong rotation, but there is some rotating wind with that storm as it makes its way eastward, and you can kind of see the circulation there.
Yeah.
About 10 miles west of Greenup right now, making its way towards Franklin Furnace, and eventually that will move into southern Lawrence County of Ohio, right in there.
Yeah.
The National Weather Service has a tornado possible tag on it, so when you get a severe thunderstorm warning that doesn't meet the standard, but still has the potential, that's when you see these tagged warnings, and that's also making its way eastward very, very fast, about 55 to 60 miles an hour with that storm. And here's that wall of wind now through Putnam County, closing on Winfield's second severe thunderstorm of the day in the Winfield area, and that one will have the chance to take down some power lines with the brighter green colors, roughly 55, even 60 mile an hour winds or greater.
Yeah, so that's, you know, severe thunderstorm warning in effect for those areas until 6:45 with that particular cell, and this is going to go on for a while. We're just going to continue to see more storm development here back towards Louisville, Lexington area. And again, in time, this will start to shift its way down to the south a little bit too. So right now, Coalfield's, you know, pretty quiet. It's warm, sun's out. All the activity has been to the north. But that cell right there, moving through Clay, heading towards Summersville. And then we've got this other activity crossing through Mason and Jackson counties. Heads up in Roane County, though, because that's headed your way, Spencer area. And then through the Scioto Valley and northern Greenup County area. That's heading into Lawrence County, Ohio, as well, with this strong hail signature on that. So you can see all these different signatures going on right here, and very large hail reports and very large hail signatures here. We're getting some more activity here. Yeah, we getting a ton of pictures here.
That looks like about quarter-size hail or just under quarter-size hail seen on the west side of Charleston as that thunderstorm came through. And you can see here in comparison, there's a quarter and there's the hailstone. So somewhere high up in the sky, that's a little bit larger than a quarter. But what happens is it falls down, and not only does it melt a little bit, but it also gains some energy, both from the gravity of falling and also from the raindrops that it collides with. So these are very violent thunderstorms, especially with how tall they are and how much of this large hail we're seeing early in the thunderstorm season, still in April. And that's just how strong this atmosphere really is around us.
Yeah, you can see there's some more reports coming in. This was from Charleston earlier. 1.8, so golf ball size hail downtown Charleston. I don't think it was quite that big here, but at our station on the east side. But yeah, very prolific hail producers, and we continue to track that. So we're staying on here. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings right now along and north of I-64, along Route 19.
Still golf ball size hail potential with our storm moving into Clay and Nicholas counties now, and that was the one that, when it was in Kanawha County, produced a tornado warning, but that was radar indicated. So these storms are still very, very strong at this point.
And we've got, these right here. Put a track on these going through northern Jackson County. So that's moving into Sissonville here by 6:20. Big Bend 6:30, Grantsville 6:34. So that's a storm that could produce very large hail. Any updates coming in?
From Charleston, we do have an update on a severe thunderstorm warning. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect through 6:45 for the storm in Mason, Putnam, north central Kanawha, Roane, and southern Jackson counties. And that storm, it will be capable of producing ping pong ball size hail and 60-mile-an-hour gusts. At 6:09, which was 3 minutes ago, severe thunderstorm located 8 miles northeast of Buffalo, 11 miles north of Winfield, so in rural Mason County, making its way into Putnam County eastward at 55 miles an hour. Radar indicated hail potential here. So it could be ping pong ball size, could even be bigger depending on how strong it is. And that storm was the one we showed you the radar with that big wall of green, that wind rushing east. That one could definitely take down some trees and power lines along US 35 and eventually closer to the interstate.
Look, Charleston right now, again, things are quiet for now, but we're going to get more storms in here. So really, once you get home, hopefully everybody's home, just stay inside. This is going to be a rough evening. This is just the beginning. This is going to go on probably for another 6-7 hours, probably past midnight in some locations, at least in the south. And again, I think the focus later this evening will be more in this zone down here in the coal fields and calmer up here to the north. But right now it's the north we're focusing in on with multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, potential for large hail. I'm going to take a look.
Seeing a little more of a line structure form with this storm now moving into Putnam County, but the storm out west has been strong. But you can see right here around Winfield, that's where there's strong 60-mile-an-hour winds or greater. And that storm has also been building towards Kanawha County and Charleston. And I'm expecting this one to likely cause some wind damage just because of how it looks. And again, we're seeing that hooking behavior at the southern flank of this line, right near Taze Valley and closing in on Polka and Bancroft. So there could be a little bit of a rotation, mainly higher level, but I'm not seeing it too well when I put the velocity on it. It's just kind of broad there.
Yeah, just kind of
very
broad.
It actually looks more straight, which is still strong 60-mile-an-hour wind. No doubt about that. So you want to remain away from windows in Putnam County right now.
There's a live look. That's hurricane right now. And we've got some, the activity moving across Taze Valley currently. So just kind of looking at seeing where the worst of this is. You know, it's changing by the minute in terms of where some of these storms are headed, how fast they're going right now. But we are seeing multiple cells.
Couple trees down reported in Milton from the earlier thunderstorm. But at this point in time, the wind damage issues are definitely along the area from southern Jackson into Putnam and northern Kanawha counties. That's where I'm most concerned about that potential right now and into the next few minutes. Even towards Sissonville, I would take shelter indoors and away from windows with this. Anywhere along Interstate 77 from about Ripley down towards Sissonville and Big Chimney.
Yeah, I mean, basically, even Huntington. This storm coming out of Greenup's going to hit Huntington here pretty soon, next 30 minutes or so. All this stuff, everybody's going to get storms and probably some hail of some degree. And again, down south, this will happen later this evening, but you're going to get that down there as well as this all starts to shift its way down to the south. Everybody under severe thunderstorm watch until 11 o'clock tonight. And honestly, I think the severe thunderstorm threat could last past midnight.
Definitely tonight with the energy we have.
Yeah, I think it's going to take quite a long time for all of this to really settle down. And then, I hate to say it, but this weekend looks just as active. I think Saturday and Easter Sunday, potential for more of this kind of stuff. The threat for tornadoes, the threat for large hail. Unfortunately, it's going to be a very rough weekend as well.
Franklin Furnace, Ohio, or Franklin Furnace, is that Scioto County, I believe, or is that in Greenup County? Wherever that is, that's a significant amount of hail on the ground, and that just shows you could almost plow or shovel some of this with these storms, which for the month of April, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so we're continuing to see some of this traveling through here. Again, there's that cell, heads up in Summersville. That's about to move into Summersville. That's the one that came through Charleston earlier, but we're about to get some more wind and rain here. Take a look at the hail on this one. Strongest hail signature right now is kind of right moving across Kenna and near Sissonville with that particular cell. You can kind of see, this is just, there's all the warnings we've got going on right now. Basically, everybody north of along and north of I-64 is in a severe thunderstorm warning currently. Just kind of multiple cells tracking through, and right now hail seems to be the biggest issue with a lot of these. I'm going to take a look, kind of refresh the map here on outages. Yeah, not too many outages as of right now. So 1,600 in Cabell, still the most I'm seeing here out of West Virginia, at least. But yeah, that's a rush of wind going into the Sissonville area here pretty soon. We've seen that passing Poca, and again that very large hail signature with that particular cell as well. So right there, that's kind of the focal point. I'd say northeastern Putnam County, northern Kanawha, southern Jackson for now. That's probably the strongest signature we're seeing, aside from the one that's moving into Summersville here pretty soon. That's crossing Route 39, kind of following that along to the east. And then this one over Franklin Furnace, which that hail was from earlier, right?
Right, that was on the first
So now they're getting more hail right there in Franklin Furnace, right along Route 52, near Greenup as well. That's a pretty large hail signature too. Not seeing as much of a rotation feature as we were seeing earlier on that, though. But yeah, that's a rush of wind right there. That's moving into Sissonville. And then, still seeing some rotation possibly on this Nicholas County cell as well, as that's making its way to the east. So we're continuing to follow multiple severe thunderstorm warnings with very large hail. And, the hail part of it, we had the tornado warning earlier. No confirmation on a tornado as of right now, but certainly confirmation on very large hail, anywhere from 1.5 inches to 2 inches in diameter or even more. And there was that warning for even baseball-sized hail potentially. And that's certainly very rare to observe around here. So continue to deal with multiple warnings. And again, the focal point is kind of I-64 north right now, but we're going to see that shifting south with time. And I haven't popped it up yet, but here's a 7-day forecast. Tomorrow is going to be windy and much cooler. Now, there's no severe weather risk, but I think we'll see some pea-sized hail mixed in with some gusty showers at times. It's going to be a blustery day. We'll gust 30, 40 miles an hour in the valleys. The hilltops will gust even higher and just have a much cooler feel. But cooler means, less of a severe weather risk, so no severe weather expected tomorrow. And then calm days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, about 60. We'll see some frost, I think, Wednesday night, so we'll probably have some frost and freeze warnings up for that period. Thursday, 60s, and then 83 on Friday. Friday's quiet, but unfortunately that warmth building into the weekend is going to set the stage for some more severe storms. Saturday and Monday in particular, we might be in a bit of a lull Easter Sunday, but it's not going to be an ideal weekend, I think, for being outdoors for sure. Even though it's going to be warm, the threat is going to be with us during that whole period into early next week for some more severe weather. So just a quick update on the 7-day forecast here. So right now, looking at radar, multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. Velocities are not too eye-catching, aside from, some rotation with that feature passing just south of Summersville right now. And again, that was a cell that came through Charleston earlier, but very large hail. And so we've got that large hail signature, the one that's right along the Kanawha County and Jackson County border right there, very large hail signature. And then this one's getting a little smaller, but near Franklin Furnace, that's heading towards Elizabeth, right there in Lawrence County, Ohio. So again, you want to get inside, get away from windows from all of these cells as they're moving on through. And just very active pattern, everything just kind of moving west to east right now in this zone. But later tonight, we'll start to see more of this kind of shifting its way further on down to the south. And another thing is high water.
Some of these areas have been seeing multiple storms.
Yeah, we're kind of getting a training signature here, so I'd be concerned also about the potential for some high water. Rainfall totals.
For instance, the corridor from around Winfield towards Sissonville is starting to see some repeated storms. Those totals will be updated, but right around Worthington on that western storm making its way through Greenup, Scioto, and eventually into Lawrence counties, that area, I'm very interested to see what the rainfall totals are like in Scioto County, and radar estimating over 2 inches in a few of these spots. And unfortunately, we still have the potential for some heavier rain to continue.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to be keeping an eye on the possibility of some high water. Now, again, I think this will start shifting more into the coal fields later this evening, so that'll be the focal point for high water later tonight. And some of these northern spots will get a little bit more of a break. And then, there's a little bit of a signature that we're seeing right there, kind of weak, but near Newcastle, Elizabeth, Vesuvius Furnace, Route 93, something that that might need to be watched a little bit right there. It's kind of small. It's north of Ironton currently, and that's kind of moving, near Royersville and Vesuvius Furnace.
Eventually could make its way towards Ade and even the Ohio River in Cabell County as well within the next half an hour, but it looks like it's more northward in movement. So Vesuvius Furnace, Ade, Eurico, even towards Guyan in southern Gallia County as well. Need to keep an eye on this severe thunderstorm.
Yeah, and it is getting Getting a little bit of a, right now, a 3.7, so that's in the low range there. Tornado impact currently. The wind impact is the greater thing with that particular cell. It's got strong wind potential. Hail signature's not too strong on this per se right now. Not as strong as some of the cells further east. Yeah, you can see a little bit, there's a little bit of a notch trying to form in that particular zone too. And that kind of matches up with that, so that's something to keep an eye on here. Right there in Lawrence County, Ohio, north of Ironton. A little bit of a notch just west of Kitts Hill. Keeping an eye on that particular zone. Right in there. That's probably the most rotation I'm seeing out of anything in particular right now. Stuff coming through Kanawha County, it looks kind of like straight line.
Yeah, still strong. 60 mile an hour or greater straight line winds. It's making its way towards Institute and Dunbar right now in the Jefferson area as well. And that's going to approach us in Charleston in about 10 to 15 minutes. So just after 6:30, maybe 6:35, I think we're going to be seeing another rush of strong winds here with this storm.
So we have another severe thunderstorm warning. Basically Charleston north. So that's gotten extended. And that's with this activity that's moving back in. So that's moving into St. Albans, Institute, Cross Lanes, Rocky Fork. In fact, we could take a look at the Cross Lanes camera here. Yeah. So there's Cross Lanes camera right now with that storm moving across western Kanawha County. You can see some very heavy ponding on the interstate too. You can see all the spray that's being kicked up. So that's definitely something to avoid if you can with these storms passing through. Just very heavy rain on the interstates and the possibility of that hail falling as well. Certainly makes for a bad combination. But, 6:30, it looks like a lot more folks may be staying off the roads than usual. This is definitely not as busy as it normally looks at this time of day. And then a live look here at Charleston. The sky's definitely brightened, but we're about to get some more downpours. So again, we have another severe thunderstorm warning in effect. So if our producers can hear us, I think we'll take this to 740. And then we're going to sign off, and then we're going to go over to Fox 11 for our 6:30 show. So that's how it stands right now. Again, more severe thunderstorm warnings. No active tornado warning as of right now. We'll keep an eye on that Lawrence County, Ohio cell. But we've got these stronger cells moving through central northern parts of Kanawha County and Roane County. These are moving on off to the east. We've got that cell that's moving across the Summersville area right now, crossing Route 19. And this activity across southeastern Ohio. So all this will continue to make its way across the east and eventually start to bodily drop on down to the south. And again, we're going to continue to follow these storms on Fox 11 starting at 6:30. And if more tornado warnings are issued, we will be breaking back into ABC right here as well. So we'll continue to follow the situation. Again, we're under that severe thunderstorm watch until 11 o'clock. Myself and meteorologist Dante Ricky will keep you updated.